parents take charge. This next section is entitled Know Your Child's Strengths and Weaknesses. We'll be talking about multiple intelligence for styles of learning. This is tool number 5. Tool number 5, multiple intelligence for styles of learning. Earlier in audio, I mentioned in theory, there are ways to engage learning. We don't want our student to learn to read. We want them to read to learn. There are many amazing ways our brain retains, processes, and make connections. Our brain is like a megaphile. If one area is weak, we learn to use the strength of another area. This section will discuss multiple intelligence, MI, the widely used method of determining ways to learn. It was extremely important to give you a crash lesson on what is meant by multiple intelligence. This section will explain how teachers use this type of technique to facilitate instruction. At least that's what they should be doing. Not only is the theory of multiple intelligence used as the recommended method for differentiated instruction, it is widely recognized as a key element to successful teaching. Some would say it is the least examined when we look at effectiveness and implementation. So let's dive right into it. This model of learning was proposed by Harvard University professor Howard Gardner in 1983, so it's fairly new. It was called Frames of Mind, the theory of multiple intelligences. When we use the term multiple intelligence, we're describing brain functions to retain and transfer information from one part of the brain to the other. This is done by understanding the dominant areas of the brain process, commonly identified as the most research. Commonly identified in most research are 5 primary areas. Let's talk about them. They are linguistic, which means word smart, logical, mathematical, which means number, reasoning smart, musical, body, kinesthetic, and spatial. Just as students use their natural style of learning to absorb information, teachers deliver perfect instruction knowing how the student processes information. Researcher Julia Reinert Lupton, Interaction Design Foundation, explains what it means to engage different styles of learning in order to maximize educational success, intellectual growth, and motivation for learning among diverse learners. This researcher believes people of all ages use a form of information retrieval and intellectual exchange. This is demonstrated from basic understanding to complex processing of maps. Multiple intelligence represent different intellectual abilities, which in turn requires a variety of methods to instruct. A general example is by introducing the arts, music, drawing, and dance, into the study of literature, history, or math. This concept is especially relevant to urban schools and to students with learning disabilities. It is extremely important for schools to routinely use multiple intelligence with students who are underdeveloped in verbally or mathematically, but often have skills and aptitudes in musical, athletic, or interpersonal. So here's what you need to do. Find your child's strength. Develop the areas of weakness through the dominant brain. The topic of MI can be found in searches on brain-based learning. You may also find it or Google it, look it up under the title of Learning Styles or Differentiated Instruction. The link included in this section will take you to a host of connecting topics. Just like our brain works to make connections, other areas are connected. You should become familiar with it for the purpose of understanding some of the methods good teachers use to help your child understand how they learn best. There are more complex ways to understand this theory of brain-based learning, multiple intelligence, and other terms to explain how the child's brain receives and keeps information. In this age of infused technology and multimedia, children are exposed to lots of sounds. The question is, are they retaining information or is it a distraction? To simplify all of this, multiple intelligence tests and evaluations can determine if a child learns best through visual, which is show me, audio, which is listening, hands-on, which are mostly projects, or a combination of all three. These areas are expanded in 7 broad categories using layman's terms. Many assessments will include an 8th area, which is called naturalist. Follow carefully. Keep your child in mind. Follow carefully, keeping your child in mind. According to Teacher Vision, Howard Gardner's theory of multiple intelligence is over a few decades old. Teachers are still trying to find the best way to use this theory to assess students with different styles of learning and varied academic strengths. Multiple intelligence shapes the way students understand, process, and use information. Gardner groups student capabilities in 8 broad categories. Each student's unique learning modality is a combination of these intelligences. Go ahead and have fun with this general assessment of your child. Better yet, ask him or her teacher in your first parent-teacher conference, what is my child's strength? What do you see as the weakness? Right then, the instructor will respect your level of knowledge. A thorough teacher will have completed the assessments before the first parent conference. A teacher should give you a response from Gardner's list reference here, or a similar one. Multiple intelligence assessments are not limited to young people. Try an evaluation for yourself. How do you learn? What strategy do a student use to retain information? Again, what about you? What strategies do you use? If you already know, do an assessment for verification. Find out if the assessment technique is accurate in its discovery of you or vice versa. Use the link for adults. There are no right or wrong answers. We use the theory of multiple intelligence to assess student achievement in our classroom in several ways. Authentic assessment aids in determining how they process information and tie in their classwork to real-life experiences and apply their knowledge to new situations. All the researchers will tell you, knowing how your child learns is key to his or her success. The additional links are resources to increase the likelihood that every child will be able to learn in a way that reduces frustration right away and ensures greater success in life. Feel free to print them out. They are public domain. Some assessments are also called left right brain inventories. For a list, go to schoolfamily.com/articles/836-learning-styles or any combination of learning styles inventories. Have fun. Let me know when you're ready. So, what does the instruction reveal? What does this all mean? As you may have guessed it, learning is heightened by utilizing our sensories. Believe it or not, this is the medium to maximize your child's academic strengths. Allow me to tell you about what I've learned about my children way before I knew about a learning style concept. My eldest daughter loved organizing and touching things. She struggled with reading. What do you think I did? Exactly. Scrambled words, gave her clay, texture, and activities to enhance and complement her natural ability. My youngest daughter failed miserably in math, yet she loved to read, write, and was extremely artistic. Her mathematical skills were developed using art and word problems. My oldest son was so active and held a keen sense of observation. I remember how several of his teachers made it their duty to keep his mind and body occupied. Then there was the channeling of word smart for my youngest son, who had a gift for gab. Of course, his reports were social at inappropriate times, socialize at inappropriate times, and talkative. Common among our children, right? I suggested that his teachers allow him to do more verbal presentations. He was drafted in plays and assemblies. Not only did this type of involvement lessen his talking in class at inappropriate times, it also allowed him to be aware of his own strengths. Our scholars are overlooked and believed void of having talents and gifts. New York Times reported why talented Black and Hispanic students can go undiscovered. The contributing author, a professor of education, public policy, and economics at the University of Michigan, Susan Donarski, agrees with our already known facts. Schools have contributed to disparities by underestimating the potential of Black and Hispanic children. Perhaps if teachers would really take this research on multiple intelligence into consideration and employ it in all of their lessons, our students' gifts would be magnified at earlier ages. So go ahead, ask for it to be administered to your child in the first few weeks of school. It will be one of the most valuable tools when lessons are planned. Have the teacher go over the results with you and your child, explaining how the brain-based learning style will be implemented in daily lesson plans. Then parents continue to monitor if the identified brain-based intelligence activity is showing differentiated instruction. If they don't use it in your child's school, ask the question, well, how do you know my child's strength and weakness? What was used to evaluate? Those are your action plans. Again, ask for the multiple intelligence tests or learning style tests to be employed or assessed. In my book, I give you a version of the assessment. I call it How Do You Like My Style? So supplementary copies are available. It's called How Do You Like My Style? It's a quick guess.